Hey folks, and welcome to RekAllTheThings. My name's Nathan, and today we're going to be looking at the brand new trailer that just dropped today for Bill and Ted Face the Music. That's the third in the franchise, and honestly, I'm pretty excited. I'm also a little skeptic because a lot of these sequels that have taken place, like, you know, decades after the originals, have been a little iffy. Like, there are some exceptions, there are some good ones and whatnot, but either way, I'm really excited to look into this one because I am a huge fan of Bill and Ted. Like, even as a kid, it was a little bit before my time, I guess, because these were in the 80s, and like, as much as I was born in 86, you don't really watch these kind of movies in the 80s, so probably by about 93, 94, when I was like, 7 and 8, that's when I really started getting into them, both the first and the second being Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure and Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. Now, I'm kind of excited to see where they go with this, because from my understanding is that these guys are old dudes now, and they haven't yet written the song that's supposed to apparently bring world peace, which, by the way, with us here in 2020, we could really use that song right now. So without further ado, let's jump in.
25 years ago, you played a concert in front of the entire world.
Oh yeah.
1 month ago, you played in Barstow, California for 40 people, most of whom were there for $2 taco night. Bill and Ted, what have you got to say for yourselves?
Be excellent to each other. And party on, dudes.
Oh, they're not having it.
To unite the world and save reality as we know it.
Bill, we've spent our whole life trying to write the song that will unite the world. Why can't we just go to the future when we have written it?
Whoa! And take it from ourselves.
But isn't that stealing?
That's also a paradox. That's a paradox right there.
How is that stealing? We're stealing it from ourselves, dude.
Oh, no way, they got Grim Reaper back?
No way.
How'd you like our song?
It's a little on the dark side, but that's cool.
Oh my gosh. Okay, we got some stuff I think we need to break down here. First off, I am super happy that, where are we at here? Oh, we're at right here. Like, this frame right here? Like, this is basically the original Time Machine telephone booth. Which is awesome. Like, they didn't do like what a lot of kind of like revamps or like, years later sort of sequels tend to do. Like, they just kept this kind of the same, like, which is awesome. Like, that to me, amazing. But to be honest, it also makes sense because it was from the future in the first place. So the idea of like not being able to, steal from yourself and it's from the future and whatnot. Yeah, in theory, that sort of makes sense. But, there's some paradoxes potentially involved in that. Now, obviously, like, you can't have like the original council be there, even though, from the future or whatever, because unfortunately we do live in reality where unfortunately people tend to die. And that being said, the late great George Carlin, who played Rufus, he is sadly no longer with us, and he was just fantastic. So I do hope, because he did bring a lot to these movies. As much as his part was big, it wasn't a very huge part. Like, there wasn't a whole bunch of lines, but what he, like, the little stage time that he had was just so good. By stage time, I mean screen time, obviously. And then on top of that, like, we see a familiar face. We're gonna see Death, which is awesome. The Grim Reaper. He was fantastic. A great character in Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. And because if you guys don't know, spoiler alert, again, this movie's at this point, I guess, well, like they said, 25 years old. They die. they straight up die, and they go to hell, and then they challenge the devil, or not the devil, they challenge the Grim Reaper to some games in order to kind of rejoin the land of the living. And then they also have to go to heaven and a bunch of stuff. They meet God. And in this video, anyway, at least we're not seeing Station. Now, Station was like, like this amazing inventor and whatnot. He actually ended up creating robot versions of Bill and Ted. And I know this all sounds weird, so if you haven't seen Bill and Ted, this is just far-fetched, 100%. But like this is kind of like, this is the 80s, man. Like this was like the 80s and the 90s. You know, it was over the top and it was funny. What else is there to break down? Let's take a look at friggin' jacked friggin' Bill and Ted. Like, oh God, I can't get over that. That's so funny looking. Like I don't. Okay, if I'm being 100% honest, I don't think that Keanu Reeves could physically get this big, like at all. And I'm not saying that he couldn't be able to work for it, but I just feel like if he had this much muscle on his frame, I feel like he would like just die. Like he would just like implode. Honestly though, these actors both still look fantastic. And yet, like, you know what I mean? Like even just looking at that, like that to me, like, Wyld Stallyns. Like, okay, and they've kind of made way, like kind of like made way. They've changed like the setup here, because originally they were all kind of behind like this giant, like almost like on like this big dais, where it was like really really tall and like it was like a big desk kind of deal. Kind of felt like you're in like a courtroom scene in like front of like the Supreme Court. Where here they're floating. Cool, whatever. I got nothing really negative to say about that. It's just the style choice that they chose. So I do like the fact that they've really kind of prefaced this straight out with like, man, you guys played like the best concert ever. You were supposed to change the world, and like in front of like the whole world. And now you're playing like for friggin' now you're playing for Wing Night. So that's pretty awesome. Okay, so like, and that, to be honest, like that's kind of all of the Easter eggs that I'm really seeing here. Like unless there's just like randomly like. Probably this scene would be the best for it. Like if there's like a random face in here that we already know, but I don't think so. Nah, I don't really think so. Okay, well either way, man. Like I am very excited for this. I really hope though, 100% that this here, like this scene ends up just being like the. Like kind of the result of the paradox that they're trying to steal the song from themselves in the future, because of the fact that you know, you trying to do that, you're going to cause some kind of paradox. Like if you go to the future to get something to bring it back, but then you already have it, you wouldn't have had to go back to the future, kind of deal or whatever. Or no, it usually works going backwards. So for instance, like you go back in time to save a life, then go back to the future. Well, then that version of you that went back in time wouldn't have had to go back in time. So there's the paradox there. So yeah, like I just hope this doesn't fall under that trope of, you know, we're going to give away so much, like way more than we ever should have in the trailer. And that's something I'm actually really worried about, like in general. I really hope they didn't do that with this one. Kind of like with Kingsman. Remember the Kingsman trailer where they end up showing the fact that, or Kingsman 2 anyway, again, spoilers for Kingsman 2 here, where they totally show that Colin Firth is still alive, even though he dies at the end of the first one. So, like, that was something that would have been a great, you know, like a great surprise for people who watched the movie. Like, it's like nowadays we don't want to be surprised. I want to be surprised. I want you to just give me enough in a trailer to get me interested, and that's it. Don't give me the whole movie. So I do hope that this doesn't end up being, like, the actual, like, be-all and end-all, like, this here is how they actually get the song, and we end up just seeing this. Like, hope they end up actually bumping into like several future versions of themselves through the things that they may end up doing, kind of deal. I think that could be really nifty. So, like, say we see like these big jack dudes, version of Bill and Ted who have obviously done something wrong to end up in like what looks like a maximum security penitentiary. And hopefully we end up seeing like maybe even like some guys that like live in a commune and like everything's peaceful, or some you know, like just other variations of these guys that they end up seeing. Like they're looking at like multiple timelines. Like that could be cool. Like if they're going that route with it, I'll be pretty happy. But yeah, that's kind of it right now. I think like that's Bill and Ted Face the Music. What did you guys think? Leave comments down below. I'm still really excited for this. This is one thing I think a good trailer does. It kind of like leaves you asking more questions and you kind of have answered, which is what it should do, versus spilling all the beans. And I feel like this one may have done that. So I'm pretty excited still. But anyway, folks, that's it for me. Make sure to smash those like and subscribe buttons. And yeah, folks, thanks for watching Wreck All the Things. My name is Nathan, keeping everything awesome, everything nerdy. Stay safe and peace.